TV.square.
Content, information, and opinions expressed during the related show are those of the show personalities and guest alone, and not those of Vic Canellis Media Group, its parent, affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Enough and you'll get arthritis, skin cancer, probably one of the common chronic diseases like CHF, COPD, diabetes. At All County Healthcare, we teach you how to manage your disease. We make sure you know how to take your medications and how to recognize signs and symptoms before requiring hospitalization, no matter how many visits it takes. You didn't move to Florida to be sick. You moved here to enjoy the rest of your life. And that's exactly what our team of nurses, therapists, and aides at All County Healthcare help you do.
The following programming is furnished by you and your doctor.
The content, information, and opinions expressed during the related show are those of the show personalities and guest alone, and not those of Vic Canellis Media Group, its parent, affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Amp2.tv presents You and Your Doctor, teaching you to live a longer and healthier life. Proudly sponsored by All County Healthcare, where people are the heart of our business. All County Healthcare is a Medicare certified agency where one call will service all your home care health needs. For more information, call 954-717-7027 or visit our website, allcountyhealthcare.com. Now, let's get informed to living a longer and healthier life. Here is your host for today's show.
Welcome back to another episode of You and Your Doctor, sponsored by All County Healthcare at 954-717-7027. We're a medical certified home health care agency right here in Palm Beach County, Broward, and Miami-Dade. I'm your host, Louise Gomez, and today I have the honor of introducing everybody to Dr. Amati. And she is located at 10189 West Sample Road, right here in Coral Springs, Florida, 33065. You're going to want a pen to write her number down. Trust me, by the end of this conversation, you'll be calling her. Her number is 954-757-0064. Website is greatnaturaldoctor.com. Welcome to the show, Dr. Amati.
Thank you so much for having me.
Your bio is very impressive, and I resonated with it. You went to Bronx High School of Science, which is the most elite high school, I think.
It's sort of one of the two.
Right?
Uh-huh. The other being, I guess, Brooklyn Tech.
I think so, but I know that your high school had the most Nobel Prize laureates out of any high school in the world. So I know, because my brother went there. That's why I know that. So when I saw that, I resonated, and I said, okay.
You're somebody who's been dealing with functional medical providers in the past, so you kind of know what that's about.
And I really resonated when I read your bio. If you could please share with us a little bit more about what you do. And
sure. Well, you know, being a functional medical practitioner, I really try to get to the cause of the problem rather than just, you know, suppressing symptoms. So I use an instrument in my work called the quantum biofeedback device that I'm very excited about. But I came on a long journey. I went through conventional medical training, and I always thought that that would just be the beginning for me. I never thought that that was the be-all and end-all, because I was most interested in helping people to get healthier, not just managing their illness. So I knew that medical school and residency would be a foundation for me, but I didn't think it would be the only education that I would be having. And several years after graduating from residency, I went back to school for acupuncture. So I'm also an acupuncturist herbalist. But a few years after that, I was introduced to quantum biofeedback, and I just fell in love with it and have been doing it ever since, because it helps me assess patients in ways that they typically are not assessed in conventional medicine. In other words, what's going on with them at the electromagnetic level. which is something that in Western medicine they only utilize when it comes to the heart with the EKG machine and the brain with the EEG machine. But other than that, the whole rest of the body, they don't monitor what's going on with it electromagnetically. And there's so much information at that level because that's where everything starts. And so being that I'm most caring about increasing a person's health and preventing them from developing disease, I always think it's good to get in on the ground floor of change, which is the electromagnetic level.
Wow. And so I really resonated with something I saw that you had on your website that said you want to work with people that want, I'm paraphrasing now, but you want to work with people who want to take responsibility for their health.
Yes.
I really resonated with that because I believe at the core we are, you know, in charge of our bodies, right? What we eat, you know, the important foundations, you know, sunlight, good water, good food, right?
Yes, but this is not really what's emphasized. You know, we live in a culture that really mainly subscribes to two theories of how disease develops. The genetic theory,
Right.
which is that, you know, your illnesses or health level will be determined by whatever genes that you've inherited, and also the germ theory. In other words, that, you know, what germs you're exposed to will determine what sort of illnesses you develop. But those two things, fortunately, I think, are the least important factors. I think the most important factors are lifestyle habits and stress. And of course, lifestyle habits can contribute to stress or help decrease stress, and stress can impact lifestyle habits. So, you know, one of the things that I really try to hone in on in patient visits is what are their stresses, and trying to relieve their stresses and trying to make them even aware of their stresses. Because when I first started using this device, I thought that anybody who had been very stressed or traumatized would be very well aware of it. But then I got to find out over the course of time in using it that really only half the people are, because the other half, it's become like a chronic noise or background smell to them that is always there. And so our nervous systems are designed to focus the most on those things that are rapidly changing. And so if something is not rapidly changing, in other words, if the stress level is high but it's the same every day, then they might not even be aware of it.
That's so true. You just reminded me, I moved into a house once and there was a bus that went down every day. I said, I'm never going to live with this. A week later, never heard the bus again. I just got used to it, right?
Yeah, our nervous systems adapt.
That's how it is, right? It just
Yes.
would adapt in such a way that we kind of tune it out.
That's right, but that's, you know, one of the things I like about using the device is because even though they might not consciously be aware of it, their unconscious mind is aware of it. And so this device is picking up electromagnetic signals that are basically originating from their unconscious mind.
Oh, I love
So,
that. So is it, can you explain a little bit, is it a device that, because I know like I'm thinking thermogram with a camera and then you're able to see different things, but I'm sure this is quite different.
no, it actually looks, it is a laptop computer
Okay.
with this special software loaded into it, and attached to it is a little box, and the box contains places to plug in the harness. So you have a head harness that
Okay.
goes around the forehead, and then you have you know, leads for your wrists and for your ankles, and so this is picking up electromagnetic information from all those parts of you. And so it just basically looks like somebody being hooked up to a computer.
So with that device, the software will then alert you and tell you, what would it say? Like, can you give an example?
Oh,
of
all
a
kinds
person?
of different things. You know, it will tell you about how the person's, you know, the energy of their body parts, whether some are too excessive or some are too weak. It will tell you about what therapies would be most beneficial for that patient. There's a number of therapies that are basic that it can do. Like, for example, it can even do balancing the person's acupuncture meridians without using needles, which I think is great. So I no longer do any acupuncture as such anymore. I have the device do it when it indicates that that would be helpful for them. It tells me things about, you know, their hormonal balance, what dis-eases they may have going on, what emotions are prevalent for them, what germs they could be having in their system, you know, how is their blood looking, all kinds of, how is their lymph looking, all kinds of things that it's really helpful to know about what's going on with them.
This is amazing to me. This is the future of medicine. Like
I
you
think
said,
so. I really think
getting to the
so.
root cause of the problem, not just slapping a Band-Aid on a issue that we have. It's really getting to the root cause.
Right, and once you make the patient aware of it, then they can start to do something about it, which will minimize their chances of getting further ill and increase their chances of getting even more healthy.
This is
Food allergies, that's another thing.
Oh,
food allergies.
People are walking around with food allergies. They're not even aware
Most
of it.
of the time.
Right.
And I've actually seen patients who told me that they had seen their primary care doctor or their immunologist and were told that they don't have any allergies. And I've never seen a person who has no allergies.
Right.
So there are some allergies that are difficult to detect by the normal means with which they try to detect them. Skin patch testing and blood testing, and there are some sensitivities that you won't see by those means because they don't cause the production of antibodies. And if they don't cause the production of antibodies, then Western medicine will not be able to diagnose them.
Wow. So
But yet they could still really affect the person.
Right. So you're going next level. You're actually getting to that, finding out what is the food allergy, and then now you can prescribe, because I know you have nutritional supplements and herbs, is that right?
Yes.
So can you tell us what would be, do you prescribe like different herbs or you?
Well, you know, that's a whole art too, because you kind of have to tailor what you suggest to the patient to what they are able to do.
Okay.
So there are some people that if you tell them to take 10 different supplements 3 times a day, they will actually be able to do that. That's extremely rare. There are other people that if you tell them to take one thing once a day, they may not always get to do it. And then most people are somewhere in between. But I think the lifestyle habits are the most important, because if people are not getting any exercise, if they're not getting regular consistent sleep, if they're not, you know, if they're stressed to the gills by various things. I have one patient who works like 7 days a week on a rotating schedule. So one days he might be there late, and then the next day he might have to go in early. You know, that's not a situation that's designed to keep him healthy, but, you know, if he doesn't know how that impacts him, then he may choose to stay there way longer than would be good for him.
Yes. Can you share a success story from somebody maybe that had a wonderful experience, or can you share?
There's so many things, you know, because there's so many things that they didn't teach us about in medical school. So for example, one patient I know had kind of juvenile onset arthritis. So she had, you know, aches and pains in her hands, even though she was not middle-aged or older. And when she found out that it was from certain food allergies that she had, but she didn't know that she had, and she removed those things from her diet, she didn't have to take medicines anymore because she didn't have the pain anymore.
Right. So it was maybe causing an inflammation.
Yes.
So the doctor would have just prescribed the problem.
Yes,
You know,
and that's
here's
what
the
we were
pill for
basically
the-
taught to do.
Right. Here's the pill for the inflammation, and then she would have continued eating whatever, and so.
Yeah, and then over the time, maybe her joints would have deteriorated
Right.
because there's still inflammation going on, even though she might not have the pain.
Right. Right. So you get to the root cause, which is really good. And so we're going to take a quick commercial break, but I'd love to get back and talk about other patients that have had wonderful
That'd be
success
great. Thank you.
stories. Yeah, thank you so much.
All County Healthcare has exciting news for any and all patients with COPD or other respiratory ailments. Listen to what renowned pulmonologist Dr. Keith Robinson has to say.
Hello, I'm Dr. Keith Robinson, board-certified pulmonologist, medical director at Fusion Health Pulmonary Rehabilitation, and a board member with the American Lung Association of South Florida. We have exciting news for patients with COPD. We now offer IPV therapy at home, which has been demonstrated to improve airway clearance, decrease hospitalization, and improve quality of life of patients with COPD. Please call All County Healthcare for more information about this FDA-approved therapy.
For further information, call All County Healthcare now at 954-717-7027. That is 954-717-7027. Or visit our website at allcountyhealthcare.com. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Remember, All County Healthcare always puts the patient's needs first. You are listening to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, an informative show that helps you find answers to questions you always wanted to ask, but did not have that somebody that could make a difference in your life. Call into the show if you have a question at 888-565-1470, and we will put you on the air to inform all our listeners. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to You and Your Doctor. Here we have Dr. Amati. She can be reached at 954-757-0064. She's right here at 10189 West Sample Road in Coral Springs, Florida, 33065. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Amati.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm loving this conversation.
Oh, good.
You know, a lot of women my age or around this age are curious about bioidentical hormones, and they've saved my life. Let me just tell you that.
A lot of people actually have hormonal issues that have not been previously recognized by their doctor as being hormonal in nature. So there are many people who are walking around out there who have imbalances in their hormones that are affecting their health, but they don't know that because typically most doctors don't even do any kind of testing for hormones, sometimes even if they're asked to do it. And when they do it, they often don't do it in a very complete way. They often will not check on what's going on with the adrenals, and the adrenals are very important, and even when they check the thyroid, which they do occasionally do, they don't check it in a very complete fashion. So sometimes the patient suspects that they might have a hormonal disorder and they get tested, and then they are told incorrectly that that's been ruled out because the few labs that they did were within normal limits.
So does the typical allopathic doctor, though, prescribe bioidenticals?
No,
Like you have to be
unfortunately not.
Right. So
unfortunately
you had
not.
This extra.
And it's not included, as
Right.
far as I know, at least it wasn't back when I was in medical school and residency.
Right.
Some of the things that I know about it, I know from taking additional courses after I graduated from residency, and then when I began going through menopause or perimenopause myself and realized I was feeling somewhat differently.
Yes.
And I did routine lab tests on myself, and they all came back absolutely normal, so that gave me no indication. This was before the quantum biofeedback device, but that gave me no indication of where to go from there. And then I attended a seminar that was presented by an OBGYN, and he was talking about saliva hormone testing. And when I did that test, that did give me some indications as to what things I might be low in. And when I gave myself those things, I felt a whole lot better.
Isn't it
So,
amazing?
yeah.
There's a lot of women out there.
And even a lot of men.
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, mainly when you talk about bioidentical hormone replacement, what most people are going to think about is perimenopausal or
Yeah.
menopausal women, but men go through andropause also.
True.
And so they may also benefit from the right kind of bioidentical hormone replacement. And then by the time I see a lot of the people that I do see, they've been having so much stress for so long that they are actually more out of balance in the adrenal and thyroid areas than they are even in the male and female hormone areas. But nobody has measured this, so nobody knows.
Wow, I believe it's so important to seek a doctor like you, you know.
Well, there
because
aren't many, because to tell you the truth, most of the people who are doing quantum biofeedback are not medical doctors, and most medical doctors don't do that. So it's kind of too bad, because I think quantum biofeedback is great, and I think that everybody should have it on a regular basis, but I have the privilege of being able to prescribe medications, which most biofeedback technicians can't do. So
they need to see you because you have the best of all the worlds.
Well, I mean, it depends. There are some people who may not need, you know, bioidentical. I mean, I'm sure that there are people who don't need that, and so therefore maybe just doing the quantum biofeedback itself would be sufficient. But I also can offer a whole bunch of other different things besides medications that may help them to get to a better place sooner rather than later.
So would that be considered like a yearly assessment or quarterly, or how does that work?
It all depends on what the person's needs are.
Okay.
And a lot of the people that I see have had chronic problems for months and years. And in general, as a rule of thumb, the longer that they've had a problem and the more severe it has been, usually the more time and the more visits it can take to help fix it. But, you know, I think it would be ideal if everybody could come in like once a month for whatever length of time. You know, my shortest visit is half an hour, which is already longer than most medical doctors. And my longest visit could be, you know, an hour and a half, sometimes even 2 hours to assess a new patient. So it really depends on the person, what they think they need. Once I see them one time, I will recommend usually that they come back to see me in a month, but then once they've done those 2 visits, then they can decide on the basis of their results and what I'm recommending from there, how often they need to come in after that. But there are so many different things that you can do in a visit with quantum biofeedback that's the reason why I don't need to see a person as frequently as, let's say, somebody who is a chiropractor or somebody who is, you know, an acupuncturist, for example. So once a month is very good for most people, and some people are fine with once every 2 or 3 or 4 months, and some people I just see every few years when they decide to, you know, come in again.
Do you have, like, what's the youngest patient you've had? Like, do people bring their kids in? Oh, nice.
Yes, babies, and I don't have to hook them up to the device,
this is
believe
amazing.
it or not. So, and it's very cool with babies, because babies, just like animals, can't tell you what they're feeling. And so you might be able to notice that some things seem to be off, or you might just wonder, are they as healthy as they appear to be? But they can't really tell you, but the device can tell me.
Wonderful. So before we let you go, Dr. Motti, we have 1 minute. If you can leave the audience with one nugget or one piece of advice that they can do, I don't know, to improve their life, what do you think would you offer?
Just pay attention to your stresses and try to manage your stresses. You know, for different people that could look different ways. For some people it's listening to music, for some people it's gardening, for some people it's dancing, for some people it's playing with their pets, you know, whatever it is. I think that people should get some stress reduction on a daily and a weekly basis, and they're the ones who usually have to make that happen, because nobody else will.
That's right. Love it. Listen to our bodies. That's the best piece of advice. Thank you so much, Dr.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
For me to share you with the world. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Thank you.